Hi everyone, welcome to the LawTech YouTube series on all things legal tech. Today we have Kat from Weightmans. Hi Kat, how are
Hi.
you?
Hi, good, thanks you.
I'm great too. Thank you for agreeing to join us on this series. I guess first of all I want to start with how did you get involved with legal tech? Was this something that you've always wanted to do, or was that something that's just sort of come to you over time, or?
Yeah, so I think probably like most people in roles similar to me kind of fell into it really. I'd probably describe myself as a reluctant solicitor. So I trained as a barrister and couldn't get pupillage. So kind of fell into paralegaling and qualifying that way, I suppose, as you do. And I'd done a variety of different roles. So I always kind of liked the problem solving bit of law, rather than the kind of necessarily the nuts and bolts of the day job. So I'd moved over to knowledge management, really because I liked the kind of the advice, the research, that kind of thing, and being able to spend loads of time on problems and stuff. And that has kind of naturally morphed into innovation. So I'd seen an article that Professor Katie Atkinson had written in the Gazette that kind of sparked my interest, and at the same time others in the firm were having that kind of similar thoughts, and we all kind of jumped on that idea at the same time, and it kind of started from there. So I suppose it started really as a kind of a passing interest, something that was kind of part-time-ish, and then I got seconded into a kind of a full-time role, and that's been really exciting and great, being able to kind of develop a team and a strategy around it as well.
For sort of furthering on just your understanding of legal tech, what sort of challenges or maybe any misconceptions have you encountered with legal tech?
I think there are a lot. So I suppose the biggest misconception, or the challenge to overcome, is that people think this kind of tech and innovation is some magic wand and it's actually going to cure absolutely everything, solve world peace and make your dinner at the same time kind of thing. And we try and kind of really stress that it's still people process behind all of this, and with the clients and the technology, and that actually without the people none of this works. So you need the people training the systems, working with the clients to think of the problems, keeping the systems update, all that kind of thing. So I think especially lawyers, as they start to get involved in these projects, are quite surprised at actually the level of input that's required from them. I think they think they're just going to press a button and the answer will come out, or something else equally as magical. So I think that's probably the biggest kind of myth that's there. And I suppose just things around kind of just all the spin and stuff that's talked about it, isn't it? I mean, if you look in the kind of the legal press and stuff, everybody's reinventing the wheel every day kind of thing, and there's always some new technology or way of doing things, and a lot of it is using existing techniques or pieces of software and that kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily need to be technology, it doesn't need to be an absolutely new use case. You can recycle things into different areas. So I think cutting through a lot of that hype, I think, is quite important.
Now that you've mentioned it's still quite people process, it's not AI coming in to replace lawyers, I sort of want to ask you, do you envision sort of any roles will be developed in the legal tech scene, and sort of legal technologists, legal engineers? And if so, what is your advice on graduates or students who may be interested in legal tech and not wanting to take the traditional route, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen all these kind of roles develop in the last couple of years. Certainly as I was qualifying, I wouldn't have foreseen kind of innovation manager roles and that kind of thing in law firms. We've got data scientists, we've got legal engineers, legal technologists. I think what is quite funny is the names we all make up. So we all kind of see what names everybody else has, and it's all kind of broadly around the same kind of theme, aren't they? So I mean, we are legal engineers, so we've got senior legal engineers and legal engineers within my team. They've got a real variety of backgrounds. So some of them have been fee earners in the past. Some of them have come from science degrees. Some of them have come from like IT help desks. And I think it's that kind of diverse skill set that's really, really important. Everybody kind of brings different attributes to the team. We've recently got a new role of legal technologist, which I suppose a bit more kind of client facing as well.
Right.
But certainly I think all these roles, I think at the heart of them, it's kind of that ability, isn't it, to talk to clients and to really be able to problem solve. So it doesn't matter that you don't know the answer, but you just need to be able to speak to people to be able to kind of work out what the actual problem is they're trying to get to. In terms of kind of advice for people looking to start out, I think any role kind of like, legal technology, KM, those kind of roles, business service roles, I think are actually really, really good kind of training grounds for people who want to qualify and, progress even into into being a solicitor, because I think it gives you a really great exposure to what law is as a business. That if you are just paralegaling in like a motor team or an employment team, you just don't see, you see your own little pocket and you never see the rest of it. But my team frequently meetings with partners, with clients, and real exposure to a lot of the kind of the stuff that we as a business do, which can only help. We've had a couple of kind of trainee seats as well, and again they've then, as they've moved back into the firm, been able to take those kind of ideas and those kind of problem solving concepts back into their areas, and they've come up with some really great ideas having kind of left the team and come back, kind of asking why pieces of tech aren't used, or can they something that they've done before, can they recycle that into a different area.
Well, I know that from my experience as a legal technologist, there's definitely been times you sort of have to look beyond the box a bit, and it's not about the newest technology that's on the market, because it doesn't necessarily fit with what the firm wants, and every firm is different in the way they do things. And certainly for myself entering into the profession, it's very, very, very new. And it's good that, for example, Manchester Uni, they're working with Psych to give students the opportunity to have that experience and exposure into legal tech. I guess my sort of final question is, how are law firms adapting to the rise in these available technologies that we just mentioned? There's so many vendors now, especially in Spain. How do you think they are adapting?
Yeah, I suppose almost we've it's like being a kid in a sweet shop, isn't it? There's almost too much choice sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it's very difficult to kind of cut through a lot of the marketing spin, and to actually, you sit through a lot of pilots, don't you, in these kind of roles. We could probably be kind of pilot experts, and that's probably a podcast on its own kind of thing. But being able to actually understand what the technology is doing and what you're actually kind of being sold, I think is really, really important. And again, I suppose trying to back some of this technology, a lot of it is kind of startup. It might not be here, in a couple of years. It might have evolved into something else. So, law firms kind of quite traditional organisations, and if you're buying a piece of tech, you want to know it's going to be there and last. It goes back to, doesn't it, use case. So there are goodness knows how many variations on a document review piece of software. I don't know kind of the approach you've taken, but we've taken that we don't want to have 20 different versions of a document review system, because we don't want to be keeping them up to date and training them and training people how to use them. We just want something that does most of the stuff pretty well. So I think, over the next couple of years, we'll see a lot more kind of, I suppose, consolidation in the market, and a lot more joining up, so that they talk, don't they, of these like legal tech ecosystems and stuff, being able to pass data much more fluidly between different tools and that kind of thing as well, I think.
Well, thank you for your great insight on particularly your experience in legal tech and sort of how the market is going. But thank you again for your time, and hopefully you can join us again in future videos. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.